Hello and welcome to another video on my YouTube channel. My name is Joris and today I'm going to talk about 3 or 4 multi-factor ETFs and 2 value ETFs that are distributing a dividend for US stocks, and of course they are again UCITS ETFs, so they are European ones. So first off, multi-factor ETFs, what are they? Well, factor investing focuses on one or two factors like the following. So the first one, the value, is the selection of undervalued companies. When you go for quality factor, then it means that you are selecting companies with good fundamentals like good earnings, good profits, not that much debt. When you go for lower volatility, it means that you select companies with a low beta value. And when you are choosing for companies that are in a good flow right now, that means that you're going to focus on momentum. So multi-factor ETFs, they try to combine multiple factors of those, and 3 or 4 of them that I'm discussing today, the ETFs, they are multi-factor ETFs, and the other 2 are value ETFs. So this slide, it's just a simplification. I said it in my previous video as well. So for details, always check the prospectus of the ETF that you want to buy yourself. So in this video, I'm going to talk about 6 ETFs. The first one is the PQVM. It's the multi-factor ETF, the UFSD on the London Stock Exchange, the UPVLD, the UPVLH. So those are the 4 multi-factor ones. And then you have the 2 value factors ones with the USVUSY and the IUVD on the London Stock Exchange. They are also available on the GetX, those 2. So in Munich, you can buy them as well. Everything that I'm going to say on the next slides is in US dollar, except for the price of the PQVM, which is available in Swiss francs on the SIX stock exchange. And the UPVLH, that one is hedged for Great British Pound, so that one is in Great British Pound, but the performance is given in US dollar, because that's how we can compare them to each other. And the UPVLD, that one is also available in Swiss francs on the SIX stock exchange. So here I'm giving the price in US dollar, but know that you can also buy it directly in Swiss francs. So the first one, the PQVM, it's the Invesco S&P 500 QVM UCITS ETF. It has this ISIN code and the total expense ratio is 0.35%. It has a price of 51.35 Swiss francs on the SIX, and the dividend is in US dollar. There are 100 holdings in this ETF, and there is only 26 million invested in this one. And I say only because I think this is one of the best ETFs that I've discussed so far, except of course the Nasdaq 100 ETFs. But the Nasdaq 100 is currently on a different league. You can say the S&P 500 is as well, but this one is only selecting 100 holdings of the S&P 500, and it's really outpacing the S&P 500 a bit. So the past year it's up 39.35%, the past 3 years almost up 51%, and the past 5 years it's up over 100%. It distributes 4 dividends per year, so quarterly in the most common months, and the dividend yield is almost 1%. And as you can see, the dividend distributions are quite evenly distributed over the years, over the quarters. Only in June it's a bit lower than the other 3 quarters, but actually not that special. So quite nice ETF. I like it a lot, and I'm considering buying it myself in the future. Then we have UFSD, the iShares Hedged MSCI USA Multifactor UCITS ETF. So total expense ratio of 0.35%, 7.95 US dollar on the London Stock Exchange. The dividend is in US dollar as well. It's 196 holdings in this ETF and only 2 million invested in it. So a really low amount, and it's a sampling ETF. Most of the other ones are full replicated ones, but this one is a sampling one. The past year it's up 22.97%, so almost 23%. The past 3 years only a little bit higher, 26%. And the past 5 years almost up 70%. It distributes 2 dividends per year, so half yearly in the months June and December, and the dividend yield it's almost 0.90%. And the dividends that you receive, it's not that high, but you know the drill. When the price is lower, your dividends are going to be small as well. It's the percentage that counts. So the UPVLD, it's from UBS, and it's the factor MSCI USA Prime Value ESG. So here you have the ESG factor playing a part again. So environmental, social, and government. And the total expense ratio is 0.25%. It has a price of 34.845 US dollars, and the dividend is distributed in US dollars as well. There are 122 holdings in this ETF. It's important that you look at this number for the next ETF as well. There is 260 million invested in this one, and it's a fully replicated type. It's up 16.35% in the past year. Over the last 5 years, it's up 72.33%. As it is UBS, there are 2 dividends per year, and it's in February and August. And the dividend yield, yeah, you see it here immediately. I give 2 numbers because in February it didn't pay out a dividend this year, so the distribution was 0 in February. Normally, the previous years it was always comparable with the amount that was paid in August. So last year in February there was a dividend of 0.25 more or less as well. So if it's going to be 0.25 cents in August this year, yes or no, I don't know. So, but for now, in the running year, the trailing 12 months, actually the dividend yield is only 0.72%, but the years before it was always around 1.4, 1.5%. So I hope that in August the dividend distribution is then a little bit higher. But yeah, it's crazy for this ETF that there wasn't a distribution in February this year. And then we have the UPVLH, and actually that's the same name as the previous one, except it's Great British Pound hedged, and it's also a different ISIN code and also another ticker code. So it is a different ETF, but it's actually the same one as the previous one, only hedged towards the Great British Pound. The total expense ratio is 0.28%. It was one of the ones that received a lower total expense ratio in November of last year by UBS. They lowered a lot of fees for their ETFs back in November of 2023, and this one dropped from 0.30 to 0.28%, so that's always nice. And yeah, it's noted in pounds, so it's 16.398 pounds on the SIX stock exchange, and the dividend is also distributed in Great British Pounds. But as I said, the previous one had 122 holdings, this one has as well, and there is only 9 million invested into this ETF, fully replicated type as well, but the yearly performances compared to the last one are all lower. So it's also in US dollar, so it's just like the previous one, but still it performed way less, and that's because, of course, it's hedged towards the Great British Pound, and the Great British Pound has suffered a lot with inflation hiking up and the pound not doing that great compared to the US dollar. So yeah, it's a pity, but whoever invested in this one instead of the previous one has had a lot a lot lower performance than with the previous ETF. Although it invests in just the same holdings as the previous one, so that's a pity. But once again, it's a UBS one, so normally it pays a distribution in February and August. And the crazy thing is, this one is hedged, but this one paid a dividend in February. So here the dividend yield is 1.24%. And in February 2024, you did receive a dividend, and that couldn't be said about the previous ETF. So in that regard, if you are a dividend investor, you are better off with this one this year for now, because it depends what happens on the 8th of August of this year, of course. And then we have the USVUSI, or Y, I should say, because it's USVUSY. It's the UBS ETF MSCI USA Value UCITS ETF. So this one only focuses on the value factor. It has a total expense ratio of 0.20%. It's right now $106.32 on the SIX stock exchange. There are 441 holdings in this ETF, so the most amount of companies in this ETF so far. And there is 550 million invested into this ETF. It's also because it's already an older one compared to the previous ones. So it's 16.64% up in the past year, almost 20% up in the past 3 years, and the past 5 years almost up 51%. And once again, UBS, so 2 dividends per year in February and August, and a dividend yield of almost 2%. And here you can see a quite even distribution of the dividend across the half years. So not a bad dividend ETF at all, except the performance, it lags behind the other ones before, especially the PQVM one. And then the last one, it's the IUVD. It's the iShares Edge MSCI USA Value Factor UCITS ETF. It has a total expense ratio of 0.20% as well, just like the previous from UBS. They're available for $6.20 on the London Stock Exchange right now. The dividend is distributed in US dollars as well. There are 150 holdings in this one, and there is 87 million invested into this iShares fund. It's been around since the 21st of February of 2018, and the performance is not great at all. So 14% up the past year, only 6.33% up in the past 3 years, and the past 5 years almost up 45%. Again, 2 distributions per year. For iShares, normally it's an exception, but when they are considering factor ETFs, most of the time iShares is actually choosing for half-yearly distributions. So only the first one from Invesco has 4 distributions, and the other ones from iShares and UBS have 2 dividends per year. And here it's in June and December again. just like the first one of iShares, the multifactor one, and a dividend yield of 2.20%. And here you can see also quite even distribution of the dividends over the 2.5 years. So if we look at the overview for the 6 ETFs that we discussed, so here you have the UPVLD from UBS, where we didn't see a dividend in February, so that is still a question mark whether or not it's going to be 1.4% again, or it's going to stay at 0.7%. But yeah, I'm going to keep you updated about this one. So we have 2 months to go to know for sure whether or not the dividend is going to be higher in August, yes or no, as they didn't pay one in February. But for the rest, look at PQVM. The dividend yield almost 1%, 1-year performance way higher than the other ones. The 3-year performance compared to the other ones also quite nice, and the 5-year performance also beating out the other ones for sure. And the total expense ratio, it's a bit higher than the other ones, except the UFSD one from iShares, but the Invesco one is definitely a nice one. And I put 3 other ETFs here for comparison. So I didn't take the EQQQ from Nasdaq 100 because that one is going to beat the PQVM for sure. But this one is based on the S&P 500, just like the SPY 5. So that's also an S&P 500 one. And that one has a higher dividend yield. But as you can see, the PQVM outperforms over 1 year, 3 years, and 5 years the S&P 500 one by only selecting 100 stocks. So whether or not you like to be diversified over 500 stocks or 100 stocks more, it's up to you. But for me, I'm tending towards investing into the PQVM now. If I would invest in another ETF, because I already have a lot of ETFs in my portfolio, I should say in our portfolio, and still one we should start to invest in. But for sure, this one is on my radar now. I only discovered it because I was doing my research for this video, and it's quite nice that I found a quite good one. And then another one that a few people like a lot, the DGRW. So that's the what is it again? The DGRW. It's the Wisdom Tree Growth ETF for USA. The That one has a comparable dividend compared to the UPVLD, the UPVLH, and the USVUSY. And the performance, it's around that one as well. But the 3-year performance, it beats the other ones for sure. And also the 5-year performance there, it outpaces the other ETFs as well. Still lower than the PQVM, but the DGRW is of course aiming to is focusing on dividend growth from Wisdom Tree. So you always have to look at what the ETF is aiming to do. So here we have multifactor ones and value factor ones, and this one is dividend growth focused. And then we have the FUSD, so that's the Fidelity US Quality Income one. So that one is really focused on the income. So there the dividend yield, I shouldn't have said the USVUSY with the DGRW. I should have mentioned these lost value ones with the FUSD one. And there you also see that the FUSD is outpacing the performance of the two value factor ones. So there I would opt for the FUSD one, and for the 3 multi-factor ones here I should opt for the DGRW, so the dividend growth quality one from Wisdom Tree. And if you go for the S&P 500 directly, it's the SPY 5. But if you want to have the multi-factor one, because it's outperforming the SPY 5, then I would go for the PQVM for sure. But that's totally up to you. It's not financial advice. It's just summarizing of all the things that I find for the different ETFs that I'm following now. So I hope you like this video. And with that being said, I hope you subscribe to my YouTube channel and that you hit the like button on this video so that it's distributed to more people liking content like this. And with that being said, I thank you for watching this one and see you on the next one on my YouTube channel. Bye.